The Elder Scrolls III Morrowind came out in 2002. It is almost 18 years old. Quite literally, it is an adult compared to Oblivion, its teenage cousin, and Skyrim, its much younger sibling. But I think this is true in terms of the ethos of the games as well. Morrowind is a darker game. Its people are more dour, its storyline more mature, and its protagonist less the hero. Many people are put off this game by its graphics. Like any classic, like Baldur's Gate or Morrowind, modern gamers put appearances above all else. But I want to show you that you can mod this game to the point that it's not just playable, but beautiful. Its graphics will never surpass Skyrim's, although Skyrim doesn't set a particularly high bar. But at the end of the day, looks aren't everything. I'm hoping to convince you that this game is one worth playing. So over the shots of Morrowind's world, I'm going to be talking a little bit about why this is my favourite game. And just as a side note, I've included the mod list that I've used in the description with a link to a guide of how to install it properly, so check that out if you're interested. It's really easy to install, and you don't need a particularly beefy computer, but I will say that this mod pack isn't the best optimized, so you'll need better specs than you would initially think you might need, unfortunately. One of the main things that makes Morrowind great is its story. Although there are elements of moral ambiguity in each game of the Elder Scrolls series, it wholly envelops Morrowind. Dagoth-ur, the main villain, is evil. That's undeniable. His plan is to infect the world with a disease that will create a hive mind, leading to eternal peace. However, it is the origins of this evilness that are ambiguous. In many ways, it can be argued that this antagonist was not born a villain, but made one. Unlike Alduin, who is evil due to his nature, Dagoth-ur was possibly once good. During the Chimer's War against the Dwemer upon the slopes of Red Mountain, the Tribunal, Nerevar, and Dagoth-ur discovered the key to the Dwemer's attempts to become divine, the tools of Kagrenac. The Council of the Chimer decided that these tools should be preserved but never used, and Dagoth-ur was temporarily entrusted with these powerful artifacts. The Tribunal's account goes like this. Dagoth-ur had experimented with the tools, using them to enhance his power. He refused to give them up, which led to a fight and to Nerevar's death. However, this account can be doubted. In the game, Dagoth-ur is not antagonistic to Nerevar to begin with, implying that it was not he who killed him. Indeed, it has been argued that in reality, Dagoth-ur fought with Nerevar against the Tribunal, who wanted to appropriate the tools to become divine. Indeed, such an interpretation is enhanced by the fact that Vivec, Sothisil, and Ormalexia became divine soon after. They certainly benefited from Nerevar's death. It would follow that Dagoth-ur didn't become evil necessarily through his own actions, rather he saw the heart initially as a means to combat what he saw as the evil Tribunal. Ultimately, we will never know what happened on that mountain, but the ambiguity is what is key. In Morrowind, you're fighting a foe with some depth, not just an evil dragon who wants to destroy the world. The complexity of Morrowind extends beyond its plot. Its class and leveling system is more in-depth than Skyrim's. There are over 20 classes to choose from, and choosing one matters. You'll find it incredibly hard to use, say, two-handed weapons if you initially choose attributes for a mage. In Skyrim, by comparison, you can just be good at everything, which doesn't engender itself well to a RPG game. The whole point of an RPG, and indeed much of an RPG's replayability, comes from the fact that in each playthrough you can choose a different path to walk down. In Skyrim, in one playthrough you can just become the master of every skill and every attribute. Morrowind's factions also balance a sense of realism with the storyline. Unlike the College of Winterhold or the Mages Guild in Oblivion, where you're soon thrust upon an epic quest, in Morrowind you genuinely have to work your way up to enable the more interesting quests. In other words, these factions feel like guilds. You're not instantly admitted and seen as someone incredibly special and with a precocious talent. Again, I think such an ethos endears itself better to an RPG. Morrowind is quite simply more sophisticated, and I think its target audience was commensurately so. I've talked about this before, but I think Skyrim, although a really good game, made a lot of things more simplistic. and this was in order to attract more players to the game, in other words to make it more casual, and that's great for casual gamers. But as a franchise that started off with Arena and then Daggerfall and then Morrowind, which were 3 amazingly in-depth RPGs, it's a little bit sad to see the series morph more and more into the casual RPG genre. So one of my chief points in this video would be to play Morrowind because it encapsulates what the Elder Scrolls is all about. Obviously that's subjective, but Morrowind is the pinnacle of the series so far. Anyway, I'll leave you to enjoy the remaining shots of this modded Morrowind, and again I'll draw your attention to the description where there's a mod list and a guide of how to install these mods on PC. The game is dirt cheap, so you've literally got no excuse not to play this game.